All right, welcome to Chapter 1 for Drafting 120, and we're going to kind of get started here in your Modern Graphics Communication textbook. And if you start with Chapter 1, it kind of goes over, what is drafting. So, when we get into, reading, why do you have to have technical drawings? That's what drafting is technical drawings. Well, you have to visualize something, communicate that design with other people, and then also it's a form of documentation so that you know what it was that you designed. And if it breaks 15 years from now, how are you going to go back and fix it? What measurements and materials do you need to make that happen? But if you look on page 5, you're going to see some sketches, from the design sketches of this motorbike down to, a 2D CAD drawing and then to a rendered 3D CAD drawing. So at this point in time in the video, what you want to do is go ahead and push pause. Now I'm back to where you just were inside the class in the learning module. So here's the video where you were watching me, okay? And we're going to go back up here at the top. If you switch back to the tab where your Blackboard Learn is, then you'll see this video. And so here's James May talking about the NV hydrogen cell motorcycle. So you can choose watch video. We're not going to watch it here, but you get the idea. You can click play on your screen. So go ahead and watch this video from James May. When you're done with that video, then you can come back up at the top of your screen. You'll see a tab that says Chapter 1 Intro to Drafting that will take you back here to this screen, and then you can click play to continue on. So, engineering graphics. It's a way to communicate that design. It's that link between the idea in your head and then the reality of what it is. And typically those documents that you create when you make these different drawings, those are legally binding documents. So, what's drafting and design? You hear the two terms. The older acronym was CA with a double D. Well, now it's just CAD. And typically, drafting was that act of graphically documenting those designs. And then the design process is converting those ideas into products or systems. Well, now drafting and design is almost the exact same thing. You're doing it simultaneously. Before it used to be different, where the one person was the design engineer and the other person was the draftsman. And anymore in today's world, that those two different job duties are performed by the same person. So there are different design stages. You can read about these in your textbook. There's 5 different steps. And the one that we're going to focus on the most in this class is our steps 4 and 5. Steps 4 talks about rapid prototyping, and I'm sure we've all heard about Google Glass. You can watch this video here that shows Tom Chi from Google, who works in the quote sci-fi department at Google, how he went about rapid prototyping. And you can see those sketching, the different sketches that he goes through, from little, pen and pencil napkin sketches all the way to 3D parametric modeling sketch, and then to the final product. So watch that video. Alright guys, welcome to What is Drafting? Chapter 1 lecture from your book, Modern Graphics Communication. So you want to have your book with you, open it up to Chapter 1, and there are times throughout this video that you might want to pause it, read a little bit in your textbook, or pause and watch a YouTube video or go to a specific website. So just have everything there ready and be ready to push the pause button when I tell you to. Alright, we'll go ahead and get started. So, if you look at page 5 of your textbook, you're going to see, why do we have technical drawings? Well, because we need to visualize things and communicate that design back and forth. Anybody can look at a drawing and figure out what we're talking about, whether you speak English or Japanese or Chinese. It doesn't really matter. It's a graphical representation. And then we also do those so we can document whatever it is that we visualize and design, so that 15 years from now, if something breaks and we need to go back and fix it, we can pull up those documents and figure out what parts and materials we need to make that happen. So if you look at page 5 of your textbook, you'll see a motorbike called the NV, and it's a hydrogen cell motorcycle, and you can watch it at the top of the page, go from this, rough sketch design, then you'll see the 2D CAD drawing, and then at the bottom of the page, you'll see a 3D visualization. So you can kind of watch that design process happen, go from a visualization or an idea all the way into documentation. So if you want, you can pause this video now, open up the PowerPoint, and actually play Mr. James May from Top Gear, the original Top Gear. And he takes a little spin on this hydrogen cell Envy motorcycle. So you can click down here in the PowerPoint and watch the video. So go ahead and pause me if you want, jump to the YouTube video, and then come back. So, engineering graphics, that's the way that you communicate that information. That's kind of the language of engineering graphics. It's that design link between an idea into reality. And something that you definitely need to be aware of is all of these drawings that you're creating are legally binding documents. If something goes wrong, they may go back and pull up the documents. Was it created correctly? Did the engineer pick the wrong dimension? What happened? So realize that these are, real things. Just like words on paper, these are lines on paper. So drafting versus design. Typically in the olden days, we had an older acronym of CADD for Computer Aided Drafting and Design. Anymore, it's just shortened to CAD. And the D stands for both drafting and design. Drafting is the way that you document those designs in a graphical format. That's what drafting is. Design is that process of converting those ideas that you might have in your head into actual products or systems. It used to be that there was a design engineer and then a draftsman. Those were two different people doing two different jobs. Now, you're going to have one person that does both of those jobs. So there are design stages. You can read about those in your textbook. There are 5 of them. The ones that we're going to kind of focus on in this class are design stages 4 and 5 that deal with prototypes and the production of actual working drawings. So this next slide talks about rapid prototyping. That's Mr. Tom G., who works in the, quote, sci-fi department at Google. He worked on Google Glass. So that's something that you've probably heard about in the news here recently because a woman got pulled over for driving with her Google glasses on. But you can watch that video with Mr. Chi and learn about how he took his concept of Google Glass from this, pen and napkin sketch all the way into a full production model. And it's really neat, the different things that are available out there in rapid prototyping. So if you want to pause this, jump over to the PowerPoint, play the video, and then come back, that would be great. So here's, an example of what a working drawing might look like, but it's going to have all the information that you would need to create whatever it is you're creating. So definitely it's important to document what we do. We want to create technically precise information. We don't want somebody to assume anything when they look at our drawings. So working drawings are a finalized formal link between those raw materials that you might have coming in and the finished product. If it needs painted, if it needs welded, if it needs cut to a certain dimension, we're going to have all of that information on there. They're precise and they're accurate. And again, we don't want anybody to assume, so they only need to be interpreted one and only one way. So very important when you're doing these drawings. In order to make that happen, we have standards. They make it easier to read. They create fewer mistakes. We are going to learn the best practices, when you're looking at different drawings, how you should do things. And again, to eliminate that misinterpretation or people trying to assume one thing or another, that's why we follow standards. The standards we're going to follow in this class are the ASME drafting standards listed right there. Okay, so these aren't like my personal, this is how I think you should draw. These are national, actually international standards for creating drawings. So engineering graphics, it's a language all of its own, and you're going to learn that as part of this class. It has its own vocabulary. We're going to talk about hidden lines and center lines. It's got its own syntax. We're going to talk about first angle projection and third angle projection. We're also going to learn different, grammar things like leaders touch the surface, extension lines don't. There's lots of, just like you learned those rules in grammar class, you're going to learn some rules in engineering graphics and drafting class.